Hey, and welcome to the Leading with Nice interview series podcast. We want to help you inspire others, build loyalty, and get results. My name is Matthew Ewell, and like always, because we only do things that we think are awesome, we only invite guests on who we have checked out and been like, yeah, this is really cool. So today we have Jeremy Herider. Sorry, I'm going to do that again. So today we have Jeremy Herider on, and when I first came across him, and I'm not sure, to be honest, where I saw him, it might have been, I belong to some podcast matching platforms, but I might have gone down a rabbit hole somewhere or seen him online or whatnot. But the bottom of the story was, it was like 2 a.m. And as if you listen to this, you know, Cindy Craik and Naomi Grossman are both instrumental in helping book and write questions and get ready for the podcast. It's 2 a.m. and I've sent now like 5 or 6 links. I'm like, check this guy out. How do we get him on? Can you please make this happen? Because I was pumped up. I was like, sure, my wife was like annoyed that I was like, you know, getting psyched for my next day of work. And, it's really not, it's not surprising because I'm going to tell you a bit about his bio. And I know you've worked, if you're listening to this, I know you know high achievers. And how frustrating is it when those high achievers suck at teaching somebody else to do it? Now, I'm not saying they should all be great at teaching others. That's not what I'm saying. But it does suck when you're like, oh, you're really good at this. How do you do it? Can you make an insight? And they're like, I don't know. I just do it. Like, you just do it. I'm like, not the case with Jeremy. Everything that came out of Jeremy's mouth, or that I read that was written, I was like, oh, this is how to do it. I'm going to let him explain. You're going to hear about optimal self. I'm going to let him explain that. I won't do it justice, but it's really important. But just to give a bit of background, Jeremy was a 2-sport professional athlete. Some of the cool things that I read, and make sure I got this right when we were doing our research, is there's a stat. Oh man, I'm going to mess it up. And I put it in my notes, but I've lost it. Jeremy, there's like stat with the Diamondbacks, I think, that you have the first of something. What was that?
Yeah. So cool story is I was one of the first 9 players ever signed to an Arizona Diamondbacks contract. They didn't even have a major league team yet, but they were awarded the parent franchise. So people know baseball has, they have lower classes, but you're all within the organization. So your rights and contract are with them. So I was the first contracted player in the history of the organization to get a hit in a professional game. So
amazing.
It was in the California League. We didn't even have enough players, so we were playing with Detroit, but we were actually Arizona Diamondbacks. And opening night, I hit a double, and they literally stopped. The Diamondbacks don't know this, so if they're hearing this now, they don't even have the real ball. They gave them another ball, and I have the real ball.
Nice, amazing.
Yeah, amazing. It's a pretty cool story, man. It was, again, and it was an honor to be just, the fact that they offered, that they wanted me on their team when they didn't even have a team was pretty amazing. So
now if you're listening to me thinking, oh, cool, I love hearing athletes talk about their stories. Guess what, guys? That is not the best thing and coolest thing about Jeremy. We're not actually going to talk about sports and athletics. And I'm not going to dive too deep more into his bio. There's a lot I could tell you, but the juice, the information is so good. So as you know, Jeremy and I spoke about this before. We prepare questions in advance. Jeremy's like, I didn't even look at them. I want it to be authentic and off the cuff. So that's what you're going to get from him. But I'm definitely following a little bit of my script because there's things I definitely wanted to know. So before we even get started then, can you just give us a 30,000-foot view of Optimal Self and what you and your organization are trying to achieve? Like your why, what you want to do and why you're doing it.
Well, I love that question. And you know what I love most is you opening with that question. Because so many times the first question I always get is like, tell us about your childhood and where'd you come from? But by you, that tells me a lot, man. I appreciate you opening with that. So I'm just going to say it to you this way. Literally the reason I get out of bed every day, the reason why I spin around and get out of bed, my mission is to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action so they can be the best version of themselves. Optimal Self is built out of decades of me journaling, writing things, learning from people around the world. Yes, through some of it through sports, some of it through business, some of it just through fate, where you catch people like yourself and I get to have a conversation and I'm taking notes. Even right now, I have my journal sitting in front of me, ready to take notes of things that you say and we talk about. And so over years, there were things that were built, and I call them principles. But the truth of optimal self is it's not a life in a box. We don't believe we have the answer to any of it. What I do know is every single human walking this earth has a unique blueprint. You can say it's a fingerprint, and that's true, right? Everybody's fingerprint is different. But the truth is, we all have a unique blueprint inside of us. And because of the way society is built and our families and all these kind of, and they're great things, is that sometimes we lose who that person is, and we do things based on what other people are telling us, right? We grow up believing certain things. We grow up, and sometimes we get things in our head that we don't even know where they come from. So then we end up living a life that is not truly the best version of us. So what optimal self and what we want to be able to do is just provide an environment to know that doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter, your race, your creed, whatever. What matters is that, hey, let's provide an environment where people can truly become the best version of themselves. And yes, there are some principles to doing that because everybody your body is made up of the same exact materials of someone else. So what we do know is that in order for your brain to function at a high level, there's certain things that need to happen. We also know that movement is not just for your body and your muscles, but for your brain, right? At Optimal Self, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. That's exactly what we want to do is one, provide the environment because I believe wholeheartedly environment matters, right? You've heard so many people say, and Jim Rohn and all these other people say this, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And there's some truth to that. But at the end, and it because you are influenced by the people around you, you are influenced. And so if we can give you a platform to come and be the best version of you, well, that's what we want to do. And we want to provide, principles and ideas that you can take and make your own, not my version. It's not Jeremy's version of the best version of you. It's like, no, man, I'm going to make the best version of me. And here are the principles and here are the things that I use. Come on, man, let's make the best version of you. Who is that? What do they stand for? And you said something earlier that the people didn't get to hear, but you talked about some qualities. And it's funny that you say that because I've done this many times. And 3 of the words that you said are part of my values, which is integrity, character, and empathy. And those are built out of just what you were speaking of. And that's what Optimal Self is built out of. So we just want to provide the environment. We want to be able to give you tools and ideas that you can take and make your own, not our ideas, not our ideals. We're not trying to give you anything other than understand that every human has a unique blueprint and a unique song inside of them. And we do not want you to go to your grave without singing that song.
Cool. I do want to. That is very cool, and I do want to learn a little bit more about you, but not. I don't care where you were born, to be honest. Unless it's like, I had a woman recently, through a friend, tell me we were talking, and she's a PhD in whatever, and she's like 35, and we were talking about how the kids aren't in school in Canada. They weren't attending. They were going to school online, and she was like, "Oh, when I was growing up, I didn't go to school for 5 years." And I turned out okay. And I was like, oh, like why? She's like, oh, like the Civil War in Serbia. We were there. I was like, oh, okay. Tell me that story. Like what? Like you don't just try to. Oh, and I'll have the mango smoothie. Like you don't just follow it up with that, right? We were out for dinner. But yeah. So anyhow, I do want to know a bit about your story, and more important, more specifically though, not where you were born, not all of that, but like I'd be curious when you are giving into other people, like you just described. Sometimes it can be exhausting. Not because it's of frustration, just like, you're giving a lot of your own energy. So what do you do? Like, what are some of your habits or routines to help you be at your optimal self while you're pouring into other people? And I'm asking you this because there's bosses, there's leaders, there's managers, coworkers that do this as part of who they are. And they go home and they're drained and they don't know how to recharge. So what I'm hoping is that they hear what you do and say, oh, maybe I'll try a few of those techniques. Yeah. So tell me, I'd love to hear. Tell me.
That's fantastic. I think that's it's a great question because It is true. Recovery is the key. Like you can't, I truly believe this even in life. You can't overdo it. You can't overtrain. You can't overlive, right?
Mm.
You only under recover. And recovery is a big deal. And what I will say to you in this case is I'll say it to you this way. I water what's important to me most. And that means that the things that matter the most to me are always going to get watered. And I think we spend a lot of time being overwhelmed at times by doing shit that really doesn't matter to us, that we get caught up in to those things. So I'm very focused on the things that matter the most. That's very true. So to answer your question though, to give people the idea is, so if we water what matters most, then how do we replenish our stream so that we have more water to water things with, right? So number one, every morning, the very first thing that goes in, principle number one is for us is hydration. And the reason is this: you're coming out of a fast, you're coming out of a sleep, which is a fast. Your body, your body still runs, ladies and gentlemen, like it's running at full speed, even at times, right? You get into some slow wave sleep and some deep sleep and all that kind of stuff. Some, REM and dream and all that. That's where recovery happens. So, but when I wake up, the first thing is one, a very short breathing exercise, couple box breaths that allow me to oxygenate my blood, get my eyes rolling, open. And the first thing I have is between 16 and 24 ounces of water. I use a little bit of a pinch of Himalayan sea salt, some in the water and some I go right under my tongue. And then I use half a lemon. The reason the Himalayan sea salt is there's 84 trace minerals in Himalayan. It's not regular table salt. Table salt is just straight sodium chloride with a bunch of fillers in it. It's actually worse for you than anything else. Himalayan sea salt has minerals that allows your body. The way that I like to tell people is imagine, if you did the dishes the night before and that sponge that you left out is all dried out, you see how hard it is? Without putting water on that, it doesn't absorb anything. Right? So if you tried to use that rigid sponge to clean up, it doesn't work. Well, the same thing happens to our body. If our body is in a state of dehydration, then everything that I eat, you could be eating the most perfect diet. You could be having kale and all this stuff that you see all over. But the truth is that if your body is not ready to absorb it, if it doesn't, then you're not going to get most of those nutrients. It's just going to wash through. And so start of the day is hydration. First things first, that's what happens. And I want to be clear. I love coffee. Like, love it. I mean, we just got back from Costa Rica. We brought home bags and bags of fresh Costa Rican beans. I crush beans myself and eat, and brew them. But listen, nothing goes in before the water happens because I need that hydration. So I breathe and I hydrate and I move every single morning. Now, listen, if you're going to read the show notes in the bio and you're going to see that I went to the CrossFit Games and I've been a professional athlete in that sport. And yeah, okay. So if I say exercise, people get very, very confused on what that means. They think
when you said like you crush your own beans, I see your guns. I just picture you like, just like into a filter. That's what you meant, I imagine, right? I'm only kidding. I'm hoping you have a machine or at least a grinder.
Right. yeah. Machine for sure.
Maybe like you put a bean and just like,
just crush it, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, awesome. Go on though. You were talking, you were saying.
No, I purposely, and with Optimal Self, one of our principles is move, is because I don't want to get people confused on thinking you have to do something like that. That's not true. Sure, resistance training is great, but I want people to understand movement, and you moving your body the way that it should move is, and again, getting some kind of blood flow, raising your heart rate just slightly is fine, is very beneficial for your brain. Again, that's the control center, right? The brain is literally over 85% water. So when if you think about it, right? If I could give it some water, and now when I go move, all those electrons, all those neurons, all those interconnections are going to fire better. It's going to give me energy, right? Movement, exercise is truly better for the brain than it even is for the body. You get the aesthetics. Sure, you might get that cute little six pack, get your bikini body ready for summer, whatever that is. But the truth is, at any age, at all times, you should be moving. The reason why people we have so many back problems and all this stuff around the world is because we don't use the body the way it was meant to be used. We're sitting in chairs now, we're on our phones, we're at our computers, and it's all necessary. Let's be clear. But man, if we could just get up and move a little bit. So the morning is, and I'm not the 5 a.m. guy. I'm not going to tell you, you know what I mean? You hear it all the time. What I do is I know what my day is. I'm very intentional about, I know exactly what's in store for me the day coming up. And one of our slogans is the power of tomorrow starts with the intention of tonight. So I get very intentional. I know what that is. So if I get up based on what my day looks like, is there a day that maybe I have to get up at 5 because my day starts early? Sure, that happens. But I'm not the rigid, everybody get up at 5 a.m. every day, everybody go to the gym. Like, that's not who I am. I want you to live your life and do it. And the more intentional you get about and understand your day, the day coming up, the easier it is to prepare. The truth is, I haven't used an alarm in years. And because I program my mind the night before, I know exactly what I have to get up. So I literally, and I want people to even try this. Try it. Be very intentional. Know what your day's like and tell yourself, I got to get up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 5:30, whatever it is. And have a backup, but try it. And you'll be amazed at how much you can control your mind, that you get to actually program how you think, how you act, what you do. But when we live on autopilot, and the autopilot isn't so great, is that we rely on all these other things to tell us what to do and how to be. I want you to understand that you can control those things. You have the ultimate control.
So, I like the idea of, I encourage people to do this all the time. Just try it and see what give it a good run. Like, don't just try it one day and then be like, oh, it didn't work. Give it a good run. And so one of the reasons I imagine you learned some discipline and the ability to stick to stuff when you were younger. Now, for our Canadian listeners, this won't mean as much. American listeners, for sure. You were a 3-letter athlete in high school, which for if you're in Canada, that means he played football, hockey, and lacrosse. Those are our 3 sports. No, we have more than that, but you know what I mean. Right. And it was all very good. MVP of baseball. Went to Gonzaga, excelled there. So what I'm curious about is this. Okay, so that I imagine you've been taught how to be disciplined, right? Growing up. But what I'm really interested in about is, I'm 43, you're a bit older, you shared. When we were growing up, like, coaches weren't nice and friendly and soft. Like, they weren't. So I'm curious, like, what influenced you to have this attitude of, like, coming alongside you on your journey, helping you be your best version of yourself, whatever that might be. Because unless you were coached much differently than I was as a young man, that's not the approach our coaches took. So what influenced you to both have that background and then where you are today?
Wow. I love it. So let me be really clear with the listeners so that they do get a better context of my life and where I came from. I wasn't the best kid. Like, you can see all the accolades, you could see the things that I ultimately did in life, but I wasn't that kid. I didn't make the all-star teams. I wasn't the kid who was always picked. I was very small when I was little. When I was young, even at like 10, 11, 12, I'm sure those of you guys that have played sports or you're listening to this, you remember that 12-year-old kid that was like full grown with a
full
beard, full beard. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
doing
he was
catch
just,
stands. Yeah, for sure.
it's not even that he was better than everybody else. He was just bigger and stronger than you. And at that age, that's enough.
You know,
what
I went to high school with Jamal McGlure, who played in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I remember in grade 9, this kid was like already 6'5", and like we're all like, if you're 6 feet, you're the tallest guy in the school. So totally, I get it. No, you were not that kid, is what you're saying.
I was not that kid. Like, let me be very clear. I never made the all-star teams. I'll give you a really good story that kind of context it is my 13-year-old year. This will kind of give you where things started to shape for me. And without knowing it, is that my coach was also my best friend's dad. Like, this is a guy that was a mentor, like a dad to me. And that year, our team won the championship. And when your team in the States wins a championship at that age, the coach of the championship team gets to run the all-star team. And he gets to pick the last 2 kids. They vote for, all the coaches vote for the rest, and then he gets to pick the last 2 kids. So I'm thinking, man, I'm in. This is my year. We won the championship. He's like a dad to me. Man, this is the year that I'm finally going to make the all-star team, right? Well, fast forward to that day, and my name does not get called, right? They call the names out, and it's all done, and here I am, and I'm devastated. You can imagine, 13-year-old boy, dream is to, be a baseball player and all these things, and doesn't happen. So that after they have a little pizza party, and we're standing in this, over by where the games are, and he's standing there, and I saw the moment. So I walked over to him and I tugged on his shirt, and he looked at me and he said, "Yes, son." And I said, "Why didn't I make it? Why didn't you pick me?" And he looked me dead in the eye. And listen, I want to be very clear. To this day, I can tell you what he was wearing. I can tell you what I was wearing. I can tell you the sounds that were happening in there. It's still as vivid as yesterday. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Because you're not good enough. You weren't good enough." And now listen, I know what it sounds like, and it is devastating. Yes, it's soul crushing. Everything hurts. I'm trying to keep it together, standing there looking at him. We stood there for a second. I moseyed off over where the other kids were, and then I got over to the side and obviously broke down. I ran to the front and asked the lady to call my mom. Can I please use the phone? It's an emergency. I need to call my mom. And she agreed, and she gives it to me, and I'm on the phone with my mom. I said, "Mom, please come pick me up. Please come pick me up." And she's like, "What is going on?" It's a sleepover you're with, and she says, she's like, "You're not supposed to be coming home. You're supposed to be." I said, "Please, I'm begging you, Mom. I'm begging you." She said, "Fine, I'm on my way." I handed it back. I didn't even go back in there. I went outside and I sat literally right on the curb till she pulled up. And the moment she pulled up, I jumped in the car. And when I did, I started crying. I was like, like sobbing, right? Yeah. That, and she's like, any mom, any parent is like, "What is going on? Holy cow. Are you okay? What is happening?" And so I told her what happened. And she was like, "Whoa," he said, "What?" She's ready she's going into the parking spot.
Mama Bear's coming out. Yeah.
Here comes Mom, right? And I'm like, "Mom, please do not go in there. Please, I beg you, please don't do it. I'm embarrassed enough." And listen, I don't know that she knew what she was doing in this moment. I don't. But she looked at me and she had that moment, and she looked me in the face and she said, "Okay, you don't want me to go in there?" And I said, "Mom, please don't go in there." She said, "Fine. What are you going to do about it? What do you want to do?" And again, I'm not saying my mom, she knew but I'm going to tell you right now, even in this moment, my whole body gets calm again, because she's asking me, not, like it's his fault. It's what am I going to do? And it gave me that instance to go, yeah, man, what am I going to do? So I asked her, I said, "Okay, can we go to Big Five?" So those of you, I know you're in Canada. So imagine it's the big giant sporting goods store in Southern California. Okay. So the big, huge, whatever, imagine that, right? It has everything in it. So she's like, "What? Like, can we just go, let's just go get some ice cream and talk about it, right? Let's go get some ice cream or, let's go do something fun or get a toy, And I'm like, "Can we please just go to Big Five?" She's like, "Fine, let's go." So we go there, And just like I told you, I could tell you what he was wearing and I was wearing. I can tell you this sign. All the signs were white, and there was a yellow sign because it was on sale. And it was and I said, "Can I have that?" She looked at me. She's like, "What is it?" I said, "It's a batting tee, Mom." She's like, I know what she's thinking. She didn't say this out loud, but you could tell it in her face. Like she was like, "Wait, $19.99. It's on sale." And that's going to make this kid stop crying. Like, fine, sure. Done, right? Every parent, right? Done deal. And she did. I got home that night, that day, and I opened that box and I built that tee and I went outside that day and started hitting balls off that tee. And I promised myself, didn't tell anybody, I promised myself I'm going to hit 100 balls off this tee every single day. Every single day, I'm going to hit balls off this damn tee. And rain or shine, I used tennis balls in the rain because they would soak up the rain better than not wreck my baseballs, you know?
Right.
And I would go out there and I would hit ball after ball after ball, like where they would be like, "Hey, enough is enough." I'm like, "No, I got 10 more. I got 5 more," whatever it was. We'd be going places and I'd get up early and she'd be like, "You better get in here and get ready." I'd say 10 more, Mom. You know what I mean? Over time, here's what I want people to know though. I wasn't the best kid. I didn't make the team. I was told you're not good enough, right to my face, right eyeball to eyeball. But I knew what I knew is it wasn't going to be because of lack of effort. I was going to give I wanted to play, and I didn't care who said I wasn't good enough. There were plenty of people that didn't believe I could do it. I just wasn't one of them. I just said, screw it. I'm going to go do it. Right. And what I want people to understand is this though. The next year I didn't make All-Stars. The next year I barely made the high school team. The next year I got a little bit better and a little bit better. And yes, by the time I was a senior in high school, 5 years after that, 13-year-old to an 18-year-old, 5 years of hitting balls out there when no one was looking, when no one gave a shit. I was the MVP of the team. I led the team in hitting. I was the only kid to make the all-league team. Now the real good stuff, right? I was an all-valley player, all-star. The first time I really made an all-star team, and it was the all-valley team. That's all the schools. And I was the only kid on that team to get a scholarship. And I say that because if I would have expected a result after just, one day of hitting off the tee, like most people, what we do today is like, "Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work." No. It's the consistency to that action over and over and over. It was incrementally better. Then I got a little bit stronger. Then I got a little bit taller. Then my technique started to catch, my height and weight started to catch up with my technique. And as time went on, that's what ultimately, I still have that tee today. I've never thrown it out. I've kept it. It is beat, but it's a symbol for me. And the other thing I want people to understand is, and I know what that sounds like, and I know it sounds harsh to a 13-year-old boy, and you can go either way with it. But the thing is he told me the truth that day. And what I mean is, in that moment, he wasn't saying I would never be good enough. What he was saying is that year, in that moment, I wasn't good enough. And you know what? He's right. And I was the one upset and hurt because I believed he should pick me because he liked me, because he was like a dad to me, not because I earned it. I didn't say that. And I wasn't even telling myself that. I wasn't telling myself, "Oh, I've earned it. I've put in the work. I've done everything I can. This is it." No, I was saying, "Oh, he likes me. We won the championship. I'm on the best team. So pick me." But that's not how life works. And that, at a young age, understanding that was very important because I knew, and I wasn't saying, it crushed me. I didn't want to go to any of their games. I'm not talking that it just happened overnight. It didn't. But I'll tell you this, it fueled me, not in a negative way, like a spite, like "I'll show you." I didn't have that. I never did. I was just like, man, I just want to keep playing. I just want to keep going, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And when I say that, people are like, "Oh, whatever it takes." Sure, Jeremy, not everybody has that. Like, yeah, you do. You do. Because you can get your ass up and go do it. You can. I was not special. I didn't do anything special. I was not gifted with size and strength and all these speed. And I didn't throw the ball 95 miles an hour. I didn't hit the ball 500 feet. I didn't ever, ever. But when you put in the time, energy, and effort, your skill gets a little better. And then it gets a little better, and it gets a little better. And we can take that in any aspect of our lives. And I want everyone to know right now, you may not be good enough. You may not get that promotion. You may not get that job you want. You may not. But don't look and say, oh, woe is me. Say, why not me? Okay, tell me I'm not good enough yet. And if you're willing to get up, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to know that you are capable and deserving of it, then you'll do it. And that's where we lose sight, because we believe we should get things without really truly earning it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this, and I want people to know, because they're like, well, you're so confident today. And I say, because I work on that. It might come off as a confidence, but I'm still just a human, man. I still get scared. I still don't know if things are going to work. I still, I don't, but I do know this, that I'm willing to sacrifice good to have great.
I'll connect something you've talked about earlier. We at Leading with Nice, we often talk with our clients about clarity. And a lot of the times the work we're doing with them is stuff they've never done before. So earlier when you talked about try something, like trying to set the mental alarm, we often are saying to our clients, like, listen, let's give it a go. And they're like, okay. We work on doing it really well. We get better every time. And then at the end of that season, that cycle. So for you, it might've been when you got to your senior year of high school. Like if you didn't get a scholarship, maybe it would have been like, you know what, I gave it a good 5-year run and like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So we talk about that with clients, like the clarity. So the point is when you do that work and you try something out and you don't get what you're after, at least you have clarity on it now. Yeah. And we do a lot of proposals here at Leading with Nice, and for every 10 we put out there, we might get a call back for one, right? And that's not even the guaranteed job. So but I've never I've never submitted a proposal and been like, we could have done better. I was like, no, man, that's our best. So if it's not good enough for them, then we're not their people. And that clarity lets me sleep at night. So I want to ask you one further question before we wrap up today, and it's just around habit forming. And it's Jamie Hunter is our content manager, and he always gets mad at me for talking about current events because he's like, "Don't do that, and we can't repurpose this content 2 years from now." Jamie, I'm so sorry, buddy. Anyhow, so right now people are in Canada. They're getting ready to go back to the office, go back to work after the COVID pandemic. And what I'm hearing a lot is people are looking for like just small wins because they felt they've had a year of losses. Are some habits easier to form than others? Or are there things like, is there low hanging fruit? And my personal opinion is that maybe it's probably not the same for everybody, but how could first of all, the question is, one, can you identify low hanging habitual fruit that might be easier to get? And if so, how would you encourage somebody to do that? And I'm hoping that people will listen to this and be like, okay, yeah, here's a small win I can start, I can change, I can make to kind of get that momentum going.
Man, you said it perfectly. Yes, the answer is the answer is yes. And let me put it to you this way: there's a great old samurai. He wrote the book of 5 Rings, called Miyamoto Musashi. And in there, he says, if you know the way broadly, you will see it in everything. And let me translate that to how we translate that is that excellence in anything increases your potential in everything. So when you talk about low hanging fruit, when you talk about something that's easy to do, the answer is 100% yes. To be honest with you, that's the only way to do it. Because wholesale changes don't happen very often. It's and unless it's life or death a lot of times, and it's so drastic where people can make those changes that it doesn't happen, or it's not sustainable, right? And what we need to do is we need to prove to ourselves, because you see, I opened this and I told you my mission is to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action so they can be the best version of themselves. Well, belief is a two-sided coin. Because in there, belief is if you sit down with people and you say, okay, like you just said, give it a go. Here's the plan, right? Here's what we got. Here's what we believe. And here's what we believe you need to do to get there, right? And those people, they go, you say, do you believe that you can do that? Yeah, oh yeah, that plan is going to work. Yes, shit, yeah, like that's awesome. I can lose weight. I do whatever it is, right? But see, belief is a two-sided coin. Where most people forget is they see that and they see the plan and they go, yeah, that plan is awesome. And yes, it will work. Here's what they forget. I got to turn that coin over. And here's why. Because belief also has the side of, okay, great, you believe in the plan, but do you believe you are worthy of that end result? Do you believe that you are capable of exercising that plan? Do you believe that you are deserving of that result? You see, the plan can be the best plan in the world. But if you don't believe you're worthy, capable, and deserving of it, you'll never do it. That's where we lose focus. That's where we jump on that diet plan or that workout plan at the first of the year, the New Year's resolution. Woohoo, let's go, right? Got this thing. And it dies. It doesn't die because the plan isn't good. It doesn't die because, eating that way or training that way, or even with business, that plan will work. It doesn't die because of that. It dies because we don't believe we are worthy of it or capable of it. So what we need to be able to focus on, to go back to your question, is those habits, which we want to change behavior through belief and action. Behavior, you can transpose that word with habits, change habits. Again, people, please understand this. You do not break habits. You make new ones. Those old ones are still there. Ask a smoker, ask an alcoholic, ask anybody who's done something that they've done religiously for a long, long time that is almost to, again, an addiction state or that habit. Ask them. They're like, nope, it's still in there. And in an instant, something can trigger it, something can go. So we don't break habits. We have to form new ones. But understand, we have to start small, because excellence in anything increases your potential in everything. If you can start by getting up in the morning and having that hydration cocktail that I spoke about, for instance, right? Because when we don't talk about wholesale changes because it doesn't work. I know that. The truth is, and the numbers are skewed today because of and all this other stuff. But listen, if you give somebody, if we were sitting in an arena right now and you were doing your leading with nice and we had a packed arena in Toronto with 10,000 people there, right? Get this. If we gave them one thing to do, everyone in this arena, one thing to do, listen to this, there's an 87% chance that they'll come back and do it. So 13% of them are still not going to do it, right? Imagine that. And you're like, hey, this is going to make you $1 bajillion. Still 13% aren't going to do it. They're not. They're going to walk out of there. The motivation's going to be gone. The thought process is going to go. They're going to be gone. Check this out. If we give them 2 things to do, go, hey, these are just the 2 things when you walk out of here, it drops to like 37%. But if I give you 3, it's in the single digits, the chances of you getting anything done. So again, excellence in anything increases your potential in everything. What if we just do one thing? We call it streaks. And you get up every morning and you have that hydration cocktail. Just do it. String some days together. And I want you to get that damn calendar and I want you to exit out when you did it. Something that means something to you. Well, you can do this with any habit you want, but it has to mean something and say, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to string it together. And I'm going to put an X and I'm going to put an X and I'm going to put an X. And then I start stringing these days together to where now it becomes, because again, don't read the internet and think that, it takes 21 days to form a habit. Bullshit. Right? I've read 66 days. I read a new thing that said it's 100 and something days. I'm like, no, you know what it matters? It matters the person and it matters the habit. Yeah. Those are the 2 things that you guys are not taking into consideration, that you're trying to put a time frame on it. And it depends on what it is, and it depends on the human. That's something we cannot track. So don't listen to anybody that tells you it's going to take a certain amount of time. That's bullshit. It's absolutely rubbish. Like, don't listen to it. What you need to do is what's important to you. But I promise you this, whatever that little habit is, look, if it is, I would tell you this. The four that I believe are the most: hydration, get up and have that water before you have anything else, so that you hydrate your mind, you hydrate your muscles so that they work your body correctly. You have some form of breathing. You'll hear words like meditation and things like that. Just spend a few minutes understanding diaphragmatic breathing, really getting that breath in. Do some form of movement. If it's a walk, if it's Pilates, if it's yoga, if it's to the gym for whatever, that's fine too. And you absolutely positively need to set some intentions, write something down, know what your day is. I said it to you earlier in this conversation, but the power of tomorrow starts with the intention of tonight. Get out your calendar, look at what's on your schedule for tomorrow. Okay, look at it. What's the most important thing that's got to get done, right? And it could be family. Hey, your daughter has a dentist appointment. Well, hey, guess what? I got to plan my day around that. So I make sure that happens. So I might have to get up a little bit earlier. I might have to make sure that I get my morning stuff in. But if you can start to set the intention of the day, if you can start to get things ready, know what you're going to wear tomorrow, know where the toothpaste is, know where, you know what I mean? Like, those are little tiny things that we have true decision fatigue in our lives today. Our lives can be busy, especially you parents, man, like, it's crazy. But decision fatigue is a real thing, right? Vince Lombardi, he said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. It's very true. So get rid of the stuff that I don't need to think about. You don't need to get up in the morning and stand there and stare at your closet for 20 minutes and try 6 different things on to go somewhere. Like, that just sapped your battery so much that now when I get to where I need to go, I'm going to be at like 30, 40% of what I need to be to really, truly perform at a high level. And I say perform, just be me, just be the best version of me, right? Like, I'm not even saying you're doing some athletic or important endeavor. I'm saying just be great at what you do, whatever that job is, whatever you're showing up to. There's just little things about intention that we can do. And again, you're right. It's the low-hanging fruit. That's why everything at Optimal Self, we don't give everything we do is exactly that. My favorite is move, and I'll give you this, and I know we're coming up on time. But I love when people go, well, Jeremy, my knee from my old, lacrosse days, and it's really acts up. And I say, okay, great. Do you use the restroom? Yes. Do you get on and off the toilet? It's somehow, some way, do you get on and off the toilet? Every person goes, yeah, like, of course. I go, okay, good. Guess what? Get your phone out, put a timer on there. You're going to give me 1 minute. You're going to shut the lid on the toilet, and you're just going to get on and off the toilet for the next minute. Yeah. Up and down, best you can, fast you can, whatever. Ready? Like, they're like, yeah, it's no excuses. You can have excuses. Yeah. But those are, when you talk about little things, you would be shocked of how many people start that, and we do little things that end up far beyond the physicality stuff that you would ever even hope for or want them to do. You're like, I mean, we have a lady now that's, she's at day, 61 of Pilates, and she was doing nothing before. Yeah. You know what I mean? Amazing. It's the little things, man. The little things will lead to the next thing.
Yeah. I only make New Year's resolutions that I know I can do. And my favorite one is actually when I was like 40. So, but 3 years ago, I had probably up until that point, I had probably a 40-year streak of never making my bed. Right. Like, if there was an award for it, I had it. And I said, this year I'm going to make my bed every day. And you know what I'm doing today, every day? Making my bed. Like, I intentionally, and like, it's funny how often my wife and I will say, we'll come down to bed. We'll be like, you know what? It's just so nice to come back to like a nice looking made bed. So, Jeremy, listen, take away. So start with one thing, try hydration, try things. And if you're not good enough, that is, you're not being told you can't be good enough. Those are the takeaways from this podcast. Before we go, where can people find out more about you? Where can they go to learn more about you? Read, hear, see more, learn, hire, etc.
Well, I mean, we're everywhere, but optimalself.today is our website. We do have a free identity creator course there that I'd love to get out to the people of Canada, Toronto. So I'm super stoked to see if we can get anybody from that area code. And then, YouTube, we every day, well, I shouldn't say every day, 5 days a week, where we have fresh new content that comes out on the YouTube channel. That's just Optimal Self. So we'd love for people to jump over there and subscribe. We're trying to grow that channel and try to just get as much great information, content, and we love to hear from them. So, comment and let us know if there's anything that we can do. We're always open to helping.
Cool beans. Well, listen, there's a few people that I got to thank because you and I had a great conversation. That didn't just happen. A lot of people, so I mentioned them earlier, Cindy Craig does all our booking. She made sure we connected. She found a great time for you. She helped get the bio ready for me. Naomi Grossman helps with the question preparation and me get ready for this. She always, my favorite, she's so kind. She always says to me before a podcast, well, I know you don't need it, but good luck. So thank you, Naomi. Jamie Hunter, I mentioned him as well. He's our content manager. If you heard about this podcast, saw it online, you've got him to thank for it. Sam Forson did all the great graphics. Jeff Anhorn edits the video, puts it out there. Carrie Cotton is my account manager, and there's only been one episode ever. We've done, I think, about 30 or 40 now, where I haven't gotten notifications of her doing work. Today I saw my notifications. Carrie, thank you for keeping the business running while I'm here yammering on. And Austin Pomeroy is our audio editor who makes all of this sound great. He makes, he makes the volumes come in and out. And is that even right, Austin? Did I just say enough? The volumes. Austin does the volumes. That's what, put that on your LinkedIn. Anyhow, Jeremy, thank you so much. You're the last. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Right back at you. And I want to say a big thank you to your whole staff too. They've been fantastic to work with and getting us together, man. I'm super grateful. Thank you guys.
I will talk to you again.
Cheers.